All right, we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sophie.
Darling, I'm in New York.
I know. You've had an epic adventure this weekend going from Minorca to New York.
Yeah, it's quite a trip, but it all went well. Moving out, it's the end of a big chapter for me. I was in the United States from 1994, and I'm moving in a week.
Wow.
I know.
It is the end of a really big chapter. It's a big deal to
It is a
close
big
the door
deal,
like
right?
that.
So we thought we
Yeah.
would talk about having a full life. What does it entail?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a great topic.
Yeah.
And everyone, as always, I have my phone here on Facebook. So if you have questions or comments or you want to participate in the conversation, please feel free to do so in the comments.
All right. So the first thing is that you have to choose to have a big life, right, Abby?
Yes.
Many human beings try to reduce their life, reduce their problems, reduce what they're up to be safer and not have stress. But there is a choice to be made. Like if you imagine your life and imagine yourself on your deathbed, you want to look back and see what do you want to look at when you look back at your life. Do you want to look at somebody that took risk, played full out, ups and downs and success and failures, or do you want to see somebody that just managed to keep everything at bay and just hopped along little by little, right? So
Yep.
either a flat line, that's a safe life, but it's not very rewarding, or a full life, which is like, the ECG where you see you're alive, it goes up and down,
Yeah.
up and down, up and down, right?
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
So that's the first thing is that, if you choose a full life filled with experience, as life is all an experience, you want to know it's up and down all the time, right? So that's the first thing is to make a choice. What kind of life do you want? Then there is risk taking. So that is where I like our work, Abby, because you get present to intuition and guidance and messages, and the Homo spiritus is connected to the spiritual. So you take risk in the material world as a human, but there is a safety of knowing that you're not of this world. You are from the quantum world, right? The spiritual world, and you are looked after. Right?
Yes.
So that's how I take risk, is that by having this enormous faith in who I really am,
Yeah.
which is my soul, and my soul is having a human, and the human goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But as long as I'm always connected to my soul as a human, it's fine.
I love that. So you create your sense of security comes from a different place. It doesn't come from what you're doing here.
No. If you relate to yourself as a human, Abby, only a human, you never reach safety. And, like being safe enough to take risks, the paradox. You have to be safe enough to take risk. The only way to be safe enough to take risk is to remember who you really are.
Oh, I love that so much.
Mm.
I think a lot of people can relate to that too, because, many of us now are, many of the folks watching this call, I'm sure you're up to something in your life. You're either, starting a business, or you're trying something new, or you're moving, or you're, working on a relationship, whatever it is. And I think we all come up against that point where we realize that if we keep doing the same thing we're doing, we won't push past that limit. Like even when it comes to, posting on social media, for me, as I'm, trying to grow what I'm doing in the world, you always come up against those thoughts and fears of like, oh no, what if someone doesn't like me or doesn't like what I say? But if you let those things own you and you don't push past that point, you'll never take a risk big enough to create what you want to create.
And that's why, we're having this seminar at the end of May, I think, on self-confidence. Is
That's
that
right.
when remember who you really are, and you fully align, your human is fully aligned with your soul, you will be able to notice those conversations as purely human, nothing to do with the spiritual.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's assume that everybody chooses to have as full a life as possible, right? Now, there is one thing that you need to be aware of when you choose to have an extraordinary life. An extraordinary life for me comes from giving it all, right? It doesn't come from the result you produce, but it comes from the investment of your human in everything that comes to you. It's
Oh
called
my
being
God, I love that.
a yes to life, right?
Oh.
Whatever life serves you, you dance with it, right? But there is one thing that I want to point out, because I'm dealing with it right now, right? So I'm here for 10 days in New York, moving out after over 20 years, right? How long is that? Like nearly 30
25.
of being in the US, right? So I'm moving, and there is all sort of things to take care of, all sort of problems. Like I'm sold my apartment, so the money and the lawyers and the bankers and the phone and the business and there is a lot of problems.
Yep.
It is essential that you remember the source of those problems. See, I wouldn't have problems if I did not sell my apartment, for example.
Right.
I wouldn't have the problems of where do I put the money? Where do I transfer it? What do I do with it? Do I buy a house there or there? Right? So the problems that you have, if you try to erase problems from your life, you'll have a very small life. In fact, the size of your life is directly correlated to the size of your problems.
Mm.
And there are some problems that are worth your life, and some others no. Right? So for example, Gandhi, right? My hero, he had an enormous problem, the freedom of India with non-violence.
Problem there is.
Like that is a big problem worth your life, right?
Wow. Yes.
Now, if your only problem is to gossip about other people, you see how small your life is, right? Very tiny.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you choose to have a big life, to play 100%, you will have big problem. And not only will you have big problems, but you need to choose a life problem that is worth it.
Wow.
Right? So I'm moving from New York. I'm changing my business place. But I mean, it's the same business, everybody. I'm not going away, right? But there is all sorts of things to do, right? But it's all inside of the context of awakening all sleepwalkers, which is my life problems, right? So what is my real life problem is how to awaken 9 billion people.
Oh my God. I love it. I love that big problem.
that big problem, that enormous problem is really the context of my life, and I am the originator of it.
Yeah, that's right.
I chose it. Right? So all the other problem like moving, dealing with a business, administration and all that is just all inside of that big context.
Yeah.
Right? But even at a level of family, right? Many of us have problems with our family, right? Family is not easy. But it's inside of the context, oh, I do have a family. There are some people that have none.
That is so true. That is so true.
So yes, families can be really difficult, problematic. But what is the context? And for me, the context of family is they brought me here. My parents chose to be my parents. I chose them as parents, sister, brothers. There is all sorts of things to learn. And the gratefulness of having a family.
Yeah.
right? So this is what I wanted to give to people, is that don't be at the effect of your problems. Just get to know if you have a problem, if you have a breakdown, declare it, don't resist it, and look at being the source and the originator of it. And then, human beings are really good, resilient, inventive, intelligent. You'll deal with your problems.
That I love too, because essentially what I hear you saying is when you accept it and you let that really fully be in your space, then we don't have all the suffering of resisting it. So we can really be with what is actually going on and not all the resistance stuff that just keeps us stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, no make wrong nothing. You always need to be the originator. But the key for me is, what is the background problem that you're choosing for your life? What a great question, right? What problem are you choosing for your life?
I love that. I love it too, because it's authentic. We're human and we're here we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're here in a body and we're experiencing Earth. So these problems will arise. So why not choose
there is never ever no problems, right?
Yeah.
But being human means that you'll have problems.
Right.
I mean, is there I think maybe when you were a child, we didn't have problems, but even then.
Like maybe being hungry could be a problem. I don't know. I don't remember that state, but.
Or wanting to play when your parents wanted you to go to sleep.
Right.
I think all of being human is inside of problems. So making problem wrong or resisting them, saying they shouldn't be, and all that is absurd.
So we can have no problem with having problems. Yep. Yeah. It's really powerful. I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that context.
Yeah. So, as always, one needs to be the originator of it all. The moment it's outside and external to you, you will lose your power.
Yes. Yeah. I've found that so much with you, and for other folks that have more of an ego that tends towards making other people happy in some way, being, helpful or people pleaser or caretaker, whatever that is. It can feel kind of scary when you start to expand your life that other people don't approve of your choices or validate your choices.
Are you talking for yourself?
Oh, of course. Oh my God. Everyone. my wife and I have made a conscious choice. I can't remember if I've spoken about this yet here, to move to separate places. We're going to live in different places and support each other's souls for a while until we figure out what our rhythms are. And for us, we don't understand what we're choosing. We don't understand it, but we know it's right. We can come up with reasons that we could share with everyone why we're doing it, but it's really not why. We just feel that it's right, which is tough to explain to people, especially people that are not in this work, right? So we go see my family, and my dad's like, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, And I realized that I didn't feel like it was an elephant in the room, and that was okay. And it was okay that he did. And why I say that is because I think the more that I identify with my soul, the more that I identify with who I really am, the more that I can let other people have their own experience of me or what I'm doing or my choices. And I still get to make the choice and choose the problems that I want to be with in this life. And it's a huge relief. It's like, if you're a person that struggles with this, like, I cannot explain the kind of freedom it is to be like, wow, that's okay that you don't understand. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. So
and that's self-confidence, right?
Oh, it's so delicious. It's just, that's the only word for it. It's a relief.
Okay, darling, you want to see if we have any questions or comments?
Yeah, let me see here. I don't see any comments, but let me double check. Click around here. No, I don't see any comments, but folks, we always look afterwards at comments. If you feel like joining the conversation later, we'll check in later.
All right. Okay, everybody. So inquire into the question, what problems is worth my life? And let go of this boring little problems, deal with the one you have to deal with inside of a bigger context. That's our call for today. And we'll talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week, everyone. Bye, Sophie.
Bye, darling.